All right, welcome back to another episode of Cameo Podcast. I'm recording my third today, my third civic election candidate, Bill Sarai, who was also doing Raise a Raider today. A lot of different community leaders were getting out there trying to raise money for literacy groups. And Bill, go ahead and introduce yourself to my audience.
Thank you for the great welcome there, Nevin. Like I said, I'm Bill Sarai. I'm a 25-year, made Kamloops my home for the last 25 years. My wife's born and raised here. Her parents are deep pioneers in this community. And I moved here after we had our two children in Vancouver. And I thought, what better way? We had an opportunity to transfer back in her employment and me as a letter carrier. In 1995, there's some openings here in Kamloops. I put my name forward, and I fortunately got an opening here, and I've been community-minded, a father of 3 now, a letter carrier for almost 30 years, and what's driven me to put my name forward again for City Council is I believe a fresh voice, a diverse City Council is needed, and I'd like to, with the support of the people in Kamloops, is put my name forward, and hopefully the concerns that I've shared with the residents, they believe in the same concerns and issues, and we'll see what happens on October 20th.
Awesome. Yeah, it's almost like I live in Brock, and your signs are just everywhere. So I imagine, is that where you delivered letters for the past
25 years in Brock, from the Overlander Bridge here right to the airport? And I can honestly say, and you can attest by the signs you see around town, especially in Brock, every neighborhood, we change neighborhoods almost every 3 to 4 years, just for the restructure, the new houses that are coming on, so you rebid. I've always had a different route every 3 or 4 years. Every route I take, every neighborhood I deliver to, I adopt as my own. I care about the residents. I care about it just like my own neighborhood. So they know that I'm the friendly mailman, the letter carrier that comes around. I will knock on the door to make sure that you left your keys in the car or they're hanging from your lock on your door. I'm the one that's going to knock on your door and say, hey, guess what, you forgot this, or your dog's running loose, or grandma's a little bit disoriented down at the end of the block, let's take her home. That's what I'm all about. I'm about the community, and everywhere I go, more now than ever, I don't have to be a letter carrier. I worry about my community no matter where I am.
Yeah, it must be a bit of a trip for you as you campaign, knocking on people's doors, going back like, oh, I did this professionally. I'm just handing out different pieces of paper this time round, and so I can see your background here, right? Sharing all the different things that you volunteered in. Yep. And so you must be Sikh, is that correct?
I'm Sikh, yes. My parents and my grandparents are true followers of the Sikh religion. We're the third generation here, so Sikh is my religion. I'm not a true practicing Sikh. I go to the temple as much as I can, but I follow the teachings of my Sikh faith.
I love the Sikh Motorcycle Club. I think that's super cool.
They're actually big supporters of my campaign.
Awesome, yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong. If there's always supposed to be food available at the Sikh temple. If you ever need it, I was told always look for a Sikh temple. They will always feed you.
Not only will they always feed you, the doors will always be open for you. All Sikh temples throughout the world are built by our teachings of our gurus. All buildings will have 4 doors. On each side of the building, there'll be 4 doors. That is a symbol of any faith from any walk of life, from any side of the world, is welcome at our Sikh temple.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's, I've had that inkling in my past before, being like, oh, maybe I need to get myself over there and get a hot meal.
Anytime, you're more than welcome. Our doors are open for everybody. We promote equality, no matter what caste, creed, or income level you have. Everybody's welcome at the Sikh temple.
Awesome. And so, clearly, you've taken a big interest in the City Council. When did that spur? When did that come about?
When I first moved here, I volunteered a lot for my children's sports, and then it was always because no one else would step forward. And then it started happening at the school as well. Parent advisory was struggling because no one was stepping forward to run it, and there's a lot of money that the government gives out to parent advisories for your school, And if you don't have a strong advisory group, it's hard to apply for that money. So I stepped forward there and got funds for the school. So the 4 or 5 years I was involved, we made sure that the gym equipment was up to par, it was safe to use. Then we did the music program, made sure they had the right instruments, up-to-date instruments. We made sure the kids got to go to field trips like every other school got to do. We brought new jerseys for them for their sports team so they don't feel that they're going to another school to play sports in ripped jerseys, stained jerseys is not the way we want to promote our schools. And when we brought these brand new jerseys, if you could have seen the faces on these children, it was like they were already 10 points ahead in the game and the whistle hadn't even gone because they were dressed just as good as the schools in the other parts of the city. It was very gratifying.
Awesome. Is there a trend or a reoccurring theme that you keep on bumping into in this campaign that you're going through?
I do. What I've been hearing is we need change, a new fresh voice, some new vision. And I believe a lot of stuff that the city council should be dealing with has been left in the back burner or we're disconnected. I see it and I hear it every day for the last 20 years in Kamloops delivering mail. Property crime is going out the roof. Homeless issues aren't being resolved. Addiction problems are just a revolving door. And I know it's not all city council's responsibility, but we need to be aware that we are responsible for our residents' concerns. And when their concerns are getting louder and louder, and not just in one neighborhood, all across our city, then we need to address those concerns. And I believe by having a diverse collection of city councilors at the table, it should reflect the face of your community. And I believe it hasn't reflected the face of our community in a number of years. If you want to check boxes, I'm a working person. I got to punch the clock when I go to work every morning. I pay taxes. When the roads aren't in good condition and they're not plowed or there's too many potholes or it's getting paved over and over again at the same time, I can't afford to be late for work. My boss isn't going to let me have a snow day. My children need to be safe going to school. My children's friends need to be safe, or they need to be safe when they go to a playground or to a sports field. They need to know that the washrooms are safe for them to use, that there's no needles discarded. It's not the community's responsibility, whether it's a daycare or a sports coach or even a daycare caregiver. It's not their job to look for needles in the morning before they can take their kids out to play. That's not in the job description. And what scares me the most is if they miss one needle, looking after your children, what happens if that children gets poked with a needle? And I've heard the argument that it's okay. I'll be brutally honest. The argument I've heard is if it's dry blood on it, it doesn't carry any viruses, you're safe. That's not what I'm worried about. Most counselors in drug addiction have told me it's not the blood you're worried about. There's always a little bit of drug left in the needle, right at the bottom or in the syringe itself. That little bit of drug poked into a kid's foot, arm, even your animal, could potentially cause a lot of harm to that child or that animal or yourself. That's what I'm worried about. As a society, we need to be better than that. I think there's a better fix than just handing out as many needles as the individual needs. I know addiction is a really serious problem to the individual. It's stronger than anything you've ever seen before. But we're not helping that individual by just giving them needles and saying, keep doing what you're doing. One of these times you'll ask for help. That's not going to work. When they come to get the needles, all they're worried about is to go get their next fix. And when they go to get their next fix, now they've got their fix, they're not asking for help. We need to get more recovery beds and make it harder for them to go to their drug dealers and get the next fix. We need to make it more difficult for the drug dealer to prey on these individuals when they're the weakest. We need to tell them that, look, you don't need to go get high, you need to get help, and we have help available for you right now, not a week from now, right now, and that help will be 24/7 till you get back on your feet and you're healthy again. That will help our society help these people. Like just this revolving door syndrome is not helping anybody. I feel that it is actually hurting. The common folk are taking a different approach to the people that are addicted. We're looking down at them more because we're seeing the needle program. We're seeing them on the street more. We're seeing them suffering. And as a common citizen, we don't know if it's a mentally, if they got mental health issues or are they just high. So everybody's avoiding them, and that's not right. We need to reach out and not give them a hand out, but give them a hand up. And I think the people that are in charge need to realize that we're not helping them just by keep enabling them. That's not helping anybody.
But isn't that not the jurisdiction of like interior health? There's no crossover there with the city council, if I'm not correct.
There's no crossover, but city council should have a responsibility to direct interior health, like they called them to the city council meeting a few months ago to ask them what's going on here. I think it could have been done better. There was a lot of gaps in that meeting where they weren't taking any responsibilities.
Okay.
Especially for the dirty needles around town. I think they got to take responsibilities. They're handing them out without any accountability.
Yeah.
They have numbers of how many are handed out, but they have no number. They don't keep any records of how many are handed back in. They have numbers of how many people use a safe injection site, but they have no numbers of how many of those people are repeat users. So we need to keep track of it more to see if this program is actually working. And if you ask the residents of Kamloops all over town, and the business folk downtown in pockets of Kamloops that are trying to run their businesses and having addiction problems at their doorstep every day, if you ask them, this program that's implemented right now is not working.
Okay, I see what you mean. And I guess to make a point you're saying about tracking stuff is, I just see a spreadsheet, right? And you start seeing a reoccurring theme, right? Now we know who really is the most vulnerable and really who wants the most help because they keep on showing back up.
Exactly.
Now, what are your thoughts on what Dennis and Carolyn have been up to with their buyback program?
That's what I'm sort of getting at. They're proving to the public and to the Interior Health and to City Council that by them collecting all these dirty needles puts those numbers that they're giving you out the window. They don't make sense. So we're proving to them that, look, the program you're implementing by saying 95% of the needles given out come back, Dennis and Carolyn have just proved to you that that's wrong. It's not working.
Oh, that's a great way of thinking of it, because I didn't think of that at all.
Yep.
I haven't looked too deep into the numbers of it all, but it's...
And the positive thing about that, I spent a couple of days with them. What I really liked about the program, and it's been implemented in other communities, is it gives the people that most vulnerable, if you give them a chance to show that they respect their community, that they want to be part of the community, those same people that are suffering are the first ones to step up and go collect those dirty needles, where we walk around and get scared of them and say, oh no, call the hotline number, let's pick this up. They're actually the frontline workers. They know that there's individuals in their spectrum that are irresponsible, that don't care about what they do with discarded needles. The majority of the people that are addicted do care about what people think of them, and they're the first ones out there picking up those dirty needles and returning them to where they belong. And I give them a lot of credit, and that's just showing me that they do care about their community enough that we should care for them as well. And I don't think by just handing out needles and hoping one of the days that we give out 30 needles or 20 needles, one of those times they come back, they might ask for help. I believe that by limiting the needles and by seeing them more and more, by giving them less needles and exchanging them, you have a better chance to reaching them and getting them into outreach programs and recovery beds is what they need the most. We're just not hearing it.
Yeah.
But we see it. They're asking for help, or we just don't have the help.
Yeah, no, totally. There certainly isn't enough beds around town. There isn't enough beds in Canada right now, which is challenging all around. But just reading over your pamphlet here, right? You want to attract business of all sizes, help grow the local economy, keep taxes down. What are your thoughts of people who think of Kamloops as a businesses closed community, and how can we change that perception?
I've been pushing that since the Ajax. Ajax issue split our town right in half. Both sides had total legitimate arguments. I can see the economy side. Parents want to keep their children here. They earn their trade ticket here, keep them close to home to look after their elderly parents and their grandparents, promote the economy here. On the flip side, I heard the environmental side. There's no point having great paying jobs if we're going to suffer health-wise.
Yep.
But what happened is, with the way it was brought forward, it was almost like the city was split down the middle. Either you're for it or you're against it. And I don't think that was the right way to do it. And it sent out a signal to the greater business community around Canada and BC that you really got to walk a fine line if you want to do business in Kamloops. We should be, and I heard this from the business associations, there was a development that was in front of city council and city staff. It took 6 months for them to get their building permit. That's not acceptable. If there's a builder willing to invest a lot of money to build something that Kamloops needs, we need to roll out the red carpet. We need to cut the red tape. We need to work with him to see where we can identify the problems and get to them early, not just leave them hanging for 6 months. Every day, not shovel in the ground is money costing to that builder. Small to medium-sized businesses, if they are employing people locally and paying a business tax base to the city, not only will it help the economy of Kamloops, but it'll help the residential tax base not take such a hit and a burden on it when we have a healthy economy. So a lot of projects in town with a healthy business economy could be done without burdening the average tax owner. And that's where I think we need to get out there and compete with other small communities to attract businesses to Kamloops even more than we're doing now.
So clearly, like, Kamloops is very decisive on, are we a resource-based town or are we a post-resource-based town? You know, and there was that split dichotomy. But how do you think we can kind of find a middle ground as we transition from one to another at this point in time?
To be honest, and I've seen this I've been here 25 years now, I don't think Kamloops will ever transition fully from a resource town. Mining, the lumber industry is always going to be here. That's our bread and butter right now. The IT is coming along. Tourism is a great industry, but tourism isn't going to drive your economy to the point where most of the workers in tourism are in the hotel industry. They won't make enough money to make your economy healthy enough that they're going to go out and buy houses and brand new cars and go on trips and stuff like that. Most of the hotel industry is the profits going there to the owners. Tourism is good for the people that are running the tourist destination or the owners of the hotels. We employ a lot of people in tourism, but it's not going to be the driving industry that keeps Kamloops healthy. We need to be a diverse economy, but but I believe you're never going to eliminate one to get the other. They got to work side by side. We just got to understand going into the future that the resource sector has to be more accountable and has to be more responsible in the way they do business in the coming years, due to the abundance of people's awareness and their health issues. So one's never going to replace the other. We need to work hand in hand, and we need to promote both in a healthy way.
Totally. To jump back to Ajax, right? Again, it's something that City Council wasn't really having any jurisdiction in, right? Like, so it's kind of one of those weird points where, yeah, if you're fighting for Ajax or against Ajax, it doesn't really matter on the City Council side because it doesn't actually fall under your municipality, right? Which is unfortunate if you're just driving business away.
And the flip side of that, and that's where a lot of taxpayers in town and residents in town for Ajax and against Ajax were upset that exactly the point you just said. City Council had no say in it. The final say was with the provincial and federal governments. So then why did City Council spend $250,000 of taxpayers' money to do a study that they really had no say in? I still believe that the federal government and the provincial governments were responsible for those studies. They're the ultimate decision makers. So if there's any information that they didn't have or they needed, then they should have stepped forward and done a study on their own. There's no point for our City Council to spend our money to do a study to give information to federal and provincial governments. They have their own bank accounts. They have their own people to do that. We should have just stepped back and let them decide what you're doing. You can have your opinions, but don't use taxpayers' money trying to convince everybody that you're one way or the other.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, you're very, like, my conversations or my podcasts are usually pretty easy going, but like you're right into it, right into the controversial stuff, which is awesome, right? It means you're not afraid of it. Nope. I that's awesome, because if people want a voice, they need to have a voice that's willing to speak up.
And if you see what my Facebook page says, I want to be your voice at City Council. And I've been telling everybody, I'm not here to be a politician. I'm a resident of Kamloops. I'm passionate about my city. I'm seeking a city council to be the average voice of the working person in Kamloops. I'm not there to be a politician. I just want you guys to know that City Council needs diversification. It needs an average citizen at that table to voice our concerns, and that's why I'm putting my name forward. And I'm not going to come up to you and say I have all the answers. Yeah. I don't. But what I can tell you, that if you have any issues, I will be the person that brings it up. Whether my colleagues agree with me or not, I will try to convince them if I believe in them. But again, it's a team effort. I'm willing to work with the team, but they also need to realize that I'm not there with any backing of any special interest groups. Mm-hmm. I have no secret agenda. I'm running on what I'm saying now is the same person I'll be at City Council. And I want to be the people's voice at City Council.
Awesome. Well, what's something that you wish you had an opportunity to chat about, because you've been running around probably with a bunch of different media outlets and platforms. What's something that you wish you had an opportunity to talk about but haven't had a chance yet?
Well, I've been talking about the snow plowing for a number of years. Being a letter carrier here in town, I've seen it deteriorate over and more every year. And so this last year was the final straw. When I heard that people were phoning the city, it's not called a snow complaint now, it's called a snow removal request. More and more people were phoning the hotline or venting on social media about their streets not getting done, the bus stops not getting done, seniors having trouble navigating, people with mobility issues having trouble navigating. Then when I actually see it firsthand, being the letter carrier and being a citizen driving around town and seeing those people actually struggling to even downtown, even to get from one side of the street to the other after the plows went around and put up a snowdrift, how do they hop over that if they're 85 years old with a cane, mm-hmm. or if they got a wheelchair? How do they get on a bus when there's 3 feet of snow and ice built to get onto the bus there? You got to, hopefully that somebody on the bus or somebody standing beside you will help you on the bus. And when the complaints were getting more and more, and the city came out and said they're meeting the service requirements of 36 hours, I knew in my experiences delivering mail in my area and my residents that wasn't true. So when I went to work one week, I canvassed all my letter carriers, my fellow workers, and I gave them about 4 days to get back to me to say, because we deliver to every street in Kamloops 5 days a week. There's not one street we don't go to. I asked every letter carrier, are your streets meeting the 36-hour service levels? And these are side streets, not the main thoroughfares. All of the letter carriers came back with 2 or 3 streets that weren't touched at all. Not even 36 hours, I mean not plowed at all. Mm. So I made that public. I went to the media and said, look, what's been said in the media by City Works and the City Council is not true. And I can prove it to you. I've got letter carriers that are backing me up on this. So I made it public, and I got a meeting with the city high-end staff there. They explained to me that there are some gaps in the service and some streets weren't being met. Could they do better? Yes, they could. 3 months later, winter's over. City Council, some members were saying, it's the same. People complain every year. One of the members mentioned that we can't get every snowflake that falls. That's not what we were asking for. That's not the people that were venting were asking for. They were asking for a safer place to navigate the city streets and sidewalks 3 days after a snowfall, and they weren't getting any answers. So 3 months after winter was over, to my happiness, City Department of Snow Clearing reached out to City Council and requested an increase in their budget for 3 more employees and 2 more equipment, because they admitted that they weren't meeting the service levels. So as a grassroots, community-minded individual, I'm not taking all the credit. It took a lot of people to voice their concerns, whether in the paper, social media, Facebook, whatever, or phoning the city. but I took it on myself to put my name on the line to say what's being said is not true.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you saying, like from like going back to like your kids getting school uniforms that were tattered and stuff, to the plowing of streets, are different neighborhoods kind of treated differently? And like I know everyone thinks the North Shore has its stigma, whatever, but are different neighborhoods treated with like almost elitism in this town?
I don't think I'd go that far. I think it's a stigma it's probably in every town. Like I'm from Vancouver, grew up in Vancouver. The East End was always the working class blue collar. The West End was always the higher end income. And so you always had that border, and people looked at it differently. It's the same in Kamloops. But you know what? When I first moved here, I did a term on Kamloops Social Planning Council. And what I learned from there's more disposable income on the North Shore than there is anywhere else in the city. We're frugal about it. We'll spend money where it's needed. And that's where I want to take my mentality to City Council, run it like a household. We need to spend money where it's needed, not spend money because we want to. Yeah. So when you're at home and you say, hey, I really want that big screen TV, or I really want this, I really want it. The scale you should use is, do we need it? And that's what I think City Council should be looking, city staff should be doing the same thing. Do we really need it? And will it benefit a lot of people in Kamloops or just a select few? And that's where I want to bring that scale to City Kamloops City Council, and say, look, when we're doing something, is it gonna promote or benefit just a few, or is it gonna benefit a lot of us? Instead of just one community, a lot of community. That should be the bar we should be looking at. And I think that's where we're sort of, when certain projects start happening, that's where what you just mentioned, that's where the people start getting feeling of there's a neighborhood that's superior than ours. That's why we're not getting anything. So example is McDonald Park Pool being closed, no consultation, but yet there's a multi-path, $3 million multi-pathway getting built to Sahali. I think McDonald Park residents in North Shore should feel a little slighted that their voices weren't heard. An issue was not resolved with them, but yet another project got the green light for a select few. And I understand where that stigma is coming from. The North Shore now, with the new development, Joshua Knack and them have come over and showed that the North Shore is a place to be. Absolutely. I think it's going to be a great up and coming. It's always been to me an up and coming. I'm a Brocklehurst resident. My mail route's always been on North Shore. I care about the North Shore. It's always been, my mentality has always been, if you live on the North Shore, support the North Shore. In restaurants, stores and that, it's only when you can't find an item here to go over the bridge and go shop at other stores. The city's made it harder on us here because they put all the big box stores in one corner of the city. So, and everything that was here, like Zeller's used to be here, it was a go-to store if you needed something really quick. As soon as they closed down, you suck the life out of the North Shore. Now everybody's going up the hill to do all kinds of shopping. Where if there was a big box store on the North Shore, you would have saved on the environment, you would have had less cars traveling around, and you would have had more jobs on the North Shore. And that's what I hope City Council looks at. Next time someone comes in for an application on a big box store, I would actually encourage them to give them an incentive to open up on the North Shore.
So the city actually was involved in choosing where the big retailers ended up setting up shop?
Well, I think they had a say in it. I think in the final, they can't tell them where to open up.
Yeah.
But when you see Walmart take a big chunk of a footprint up on this, everybody follows where everybody else goes because they know if they go to one store, they can jump to the other ones. So once one goes in there, all the other ones piggyback in. I would have liked it back in the day, whether it's feasible. When Zellers was thinking about moving up the hill, I wish the thinking back in the day was, hey, you guys, if you do that, nothing's going to be left on the North Shore for the average citizen to do their everyday shopping. How about you stay there and keep a smaller footprint store there, just in case your move doesn't work out? Give an incentive, somehow a tax break or something to keep them here. Nothing was given to them, no incentive. They moved up there. As you know, it didn't work out there, and now they're not even in town no more.
Yeah, well, they're not in town anywhere in Canada, though. But so, Zellers, I remember dropping by there on my way home way back in Cambridge. But the flip side is the little funky shops have kind of prospered on the North Shore, right?
Big time.
Which is ironic because we're at a Starbucks of all places, which is like one of the few cafes that like actually it's still corporate owned and all the money does leave, whereas like Tim Hortons or McDonald's, the money stays locally and stuff, right? So it's also keeping in mind like, okay, well, who are we supporting when I buy a coffee, right? Or whoever be like, I let you choose the place, but you know, maybe that was an unfair advantage to you.
I just chose a place that was central. I'm not a big frequent of Starbucks. I frequent all the local coffee shops when I can. And like I said, I buy local. When I look at it the other way, yes, the money does leave. All businesses, the money stays local. But I look at it, Starbucks employs local people. So I don't look at it as the cost of a coffee is going out the door and it's going to Seattle. I look at it, they're still employing local people, students that are going to TRU or part-time jobs. So my thinking when I do go shopping in town, anywhere in town, is at least I'm supporting the workers that are there.
True. What's another big part of your platform that we haven't chatted about yet? We've chatted about quite a few big topics.
Property crime.
Property crime, yes.
And you just heard the news at Barnardville's in the last years, the property crime there has increased. It's just hitting the news now. They've been dealing with it for over a year. We've been dealing with it for a number of years in North Shore and Brock. It's actually crossed over into different neighborhoods. In my neighborhood, we found a big difference. We created a block watch. We teamed up with the city and got them to give us the instructions and the knowledge and the education of how a block watch benefits a neighborhood. We implemented it. Out of the 43 houses in our block, I was a co-captain with Angela Trudeau. Angela Trudeau Sangha was the captain. Out of the 43 houses, 39 signed up. 2 were never answered us. It's not like they said no. We just never connected with them. We've noticed that by having the neighborhood as one and everybody knowing each other, that they're on board, we've noticed how each neighbor is now watching out for the next neighbor. There's text messages. Hey, there's a suspicious vehicle. Hey, someone was in my yard last night. Here's a security footage. Hey, watch out about this guy, and it shows a description. Together, we're stronger and safer, and I believe neighborhood associations, I've said it in my platform, I would be more than willing to help more neighborhoods implement an association so they can be stronger in their voice, whether it's a city hall for an issue, whether it's with bylaws with an issue, whether it's with the police for an issue, or whether it's just the safety of their own neighborhood. Together they're stronger, and more voices have a little bit more pull with different agencies. And saying that, I think every association should implement block watch is a great deterrent. When criminals see a block watch sign, first thing, they won't move into that block if they're into that activity. Second one, if they see the sign, they know that there's people watching them, not just in this house they're casing, but across the street, someone might be watching and reporting them. I think it's a good start on property crime. I still believe that the opioid crisis and the drug addiction crisis is driving the property crime for their next fix on drugs. And they're taking anything that's not nailed down or bolted down or in your house to trade for drugs. And that could include anything. There's stories of people coming up to people's porches and sitting down and rolling cigarettes out of their ashtrays because they have no money for cigarettes, or taking lawn ornaments, or taking Christmas lights. This isn't juveniles pulling pranks. These are actually people taking things that they think could be traded for drugs. And we need to get on top of that. It's just going to get worse.
Yeah, I was chatting with someone the other day about being friendly with your neighbors, and they're like, yeah, nope, I don't talk to my neighbors. They wave me and I keep my head down. And I'm just like, really? Like, I made sure that I'm friendly with the neighbor that I share the duplex with, and I'll go say hi to their dog, and the other neighbor, 92-year-old man, and I'll go sit down with him and his daughter and hang out with my baby. Like, it's those sort of interactions because the one neighbor brought us over food when we had our baby, and I feel like people have lost that.
They have. It's more prevalent. What you're saying is in the big cities, no one has time no more. Everybody's in a rush to get somewhere. in a smaller community, that's one of the reasons I moved here. That's one of the reasons I love Kamloops, is we have the time. Get to know your neighbors, get to know your shop owners, get to know everybody. We're a small community. There's no point hiding. Like the draw of a small community is everybody knows everybody. There's no hurt in smiling and saying good morning, but especially your neighbors, you want them to be an extension of your household so that you can share good and bad with them.
Totally.
And they can be your eyes and ears, and you can be their eyes and ears. And I can be brutally honest with you. You'll feel a lot better when you get to know your neighbor and find out some common ground.
Well, yeah, it's awkward once in a while when you have the conversation of, I want you to split the cost of cutting down this massive Chinese elm, but, either costs a couple $1,000s now or a couple tens of grands later down the road, right?
That's right. Get to know your neighbor.
Yeah, and that awkward conversation, right, has now fed into, a good relationship with all of them where you are friendly.
That's right.
At least that's the way I was brought up back in Ontario, right?
Exactly.
We didn't start locking our door until I was like 5th, 6th grade.
Totally. Now it's like right away, the first thing you do at night is lock your doors.
Yeah.
Make sure everything's put away. Now Barnardville, beautiful community. They have acreages out there. One of the secret gems of our town, and they could leave stuff outside and not worry about it. In the past year now, they got to worry about it. Crime travels. It doesn't stay in one spot. It goes where there's an opportunity, and they found an opportunity in Barnardville that the people are super friendly. They're still 5-6 years behind. They still think everything's safe out there. They don't lock things up. Now that crime has infested their neighborhood. And it's unfortunate. Now they're scared. They're leery of everybody, and that's not the way it should be in a small town.
No, not at all. Like Kamloops, I don't know. I struggle with I call Kamloops a town still, but it is a city.
Yes, it is.
It really is a city, and we don't like to think of it as a city just yet. But it's crossing that hurdle in our heads, going like, okay, we need to act like a city now, think like a city.
We need to grow up.
We do need to grow up and move forward, right? Past job trying to teach business owners the importance of the internet.
Yes.
Right. Like you can see them; they're 20 years behind.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Right, and it's either catch up now or
get
go
left
away.
behind.
It's really unfortunate, right? And I have the most to lose. I have more to lose than you, in my opinion. I'm sorry.
It's just a trade you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
But, we're 37 minutes in, Bill. Anything else we want to chat about?
I just want to let people know, like I repeated it before, we need to jumpstart the economy in Kamloops. We need to show all the neighborhoods that we're all together. And when we do projects or issues, they should benefit the whole city or a majority of the city. Small projects are good to keep everybody, we get grants to do certain things. But let's not try to split neighborhoods against neighborhoods. Let's not pit neighborhoods against neighborhoods. Let's do projects that are beneficial for everybody. And when you're going to make changes, be upfront about it. Let them know. One of the big ones that I'm dealing with now is recycling. There is so much. There's so many problems with recycling right now that people don't know about. Most of the recycling that's done throughout the city, they have the different bins that you think you're separating all your recycling and the city's being responsible for. It's a fog. Everything you're throwing in those 3 different bins are going straight to the landfill. They're not separating nothing. I just found that out from a good source at the city.
Really?
That everybody thinks they go to a Blazers game and they got the 3 bins and they're separating everything. That all 3 bins go to the landfill. Nothing gets separated. They don't have the time. They don't have. Their argument is probably contaminated, and everything goes to the landfill. I'm trying to verify that with a higher up at the city. I just found this out today, but the source I found out from today actually does the job, and that's what they're saying, that they're deceiving the public by showing that they're doing their part of recycling. They're not. Okay. And I want to get to the bottom of that, and when I do, I'll make it public.
Awesome, Bill. Where can people find you if they have any questions?
I'm on Facebook. Let me be the voice of the people.
Your email is billsarai2018@gmail.com.
Gmail.com.
Twitter,
Instagram. Instagram, I'm on it all. And like I said, anytime you need to just message me, I get back to you within 24 hours. There's no issue or topic I won't touch. You'll get the brutal, honest truth from me. And if I don't have the answer, I'll find it for you. And if it's an issue that I'm not sure about, I will tell you. I'll have to look into it. I'm not going to make up answers, but I will not change my answers throughout the campaign. Is what you hear from me today was what you'll hear from me after, if I'm fortunate enough to get elected. I'll be the same person I am today, and I'll be the same person October 21st, whether I'm at City Council or not at City Council. But I will assure you that I will be the voice of the average person of Kamloops. And most people say, well, we're not average. I will be the voice of anybody that doesn't think they have a voice at City Council. For all you people that don't vote, don't think you have it doesn't matter, I'm telling you it does matter. If you want change, then you need to get out and vote. And I'm not, I'm saying just get out and vote. That's your democratic
Absolutely.
right. I want you to get out and vote. Whether you vote for me or not is irrelevant. I'm asking you humbly, get out and vote, because if you don't get out and vote and impose change, then there's no point bitching about it after. Mm-hmm. So if you get out and vote and you hear someone that's talking your language, that has your concerns, then vote for that person and hold them accountable. And tell them that you voted for them and they're not holding up their end of the bargain. And if I'm that person and I let you down, then I'll be the first. You can be the first one to come in and ask me, hey, what happened here? You said you would do this, because I promise you, whatever my platform is and what I'm telling you guys is what I'll do October 21st.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Bill, for chatting with me. And
Thank you, Nevin.
Vote October 20th. If I could ask one thing of you, if you're still listening, please go out and vote. Let's make a difference. Yes. Just show up the polls. There's many different places to vote. You can easily find online. If I can ask a second thing is please subscribe and share this podcast with anyone who you think would be interested in learning a little bit more about Bill. And until next time, thanks for tuning into Cameo Podcast.
Thank you, Nevin, for the opportunity.